Okay, welcome to the Tuesday, November 12th, 2019 regular business meeting of the East Bay Mud Board of Directors. For your information, the Planning Committee and the Legislative and Human Resources Committee both met earlier today and will report out later under item 11. If we could have roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
Directors Coleman.
Present.
Katz.
Present.
Lenny.
Here.
McIntosh. Here. Mellon.
Present.
Patterson.
Here.
President Young.
I am here. Okay, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could you please post the agenda online so that on the board so people can see it? We have no announcements from closed session, and we do have quite a number of people here for public comment under our public forum section, which is for items that are not otherwise agendized. I think I have 16 or 17 cards. You're permitted 3 minutes to make your public comments. We ask that if you are reiterating comments that have been made by others, that you try to condense your comments, but that's not strictly the need. I have a couple people that have requested to speak in order, and then I have other cards behind. And as I'm going to call the first 3 speakers. Please come up and state your name. If you have not turned in a card and you wish to speak, well, there'll be room for that as well. First up, I have Lucinda Reinhold, Jane Hansen, and then Susan Nunez Fadley. So just come up. No, just come up one after the other. I'm just telling you what your order is.
Okay.
So, Lucinda.
You want me to stand here?
Yes, please.
Okay, I have a quick question before I begin. Is it possible to have another speaker speak if you don't want to use up your
No, we
3
don't
minutes?
do that.
You don't? All right.
Thank you.
Very good. My name is Lucinda Reinhold, and I live at 1306 Euclid Avenue in Berkeley. And I would like to talk to you about a proposed Verizon cell tower at 0 Euclid Avenue in the Berryman Reservoir, which is East Bay Mud property, and strongly request that East Bay Mud rescind its lease to Verizon for that purpose, for the purpose of constructing the cell tower. There are many reasons, and the community has many concerns about the possibility of having this tower at that location. And one of the concerns is that East Bay Mud entirely neglected to let any of the immediate neighbors or the surrounding community know of its intent to sign a lease for this purpose with Verizon, even though the cell tower, if it is constructed, would have a huge impact on the neighborhood. And there is also a lot of community opposition to the tower, which you may or may not be aware of. In addition to many of those who will speak later today about this, there's a core group of about 30 plus activists who are organized to protest the tower. And we also have a petition from people from all over the county and beyond in the city who oppose having the tower at this location. The petition has over 600 signatures on it, and we are continuing to gather additional signatures. This area is an historic area in Berkeley. The buildings and Rose Walk, which is just adjacent to the reservoir, basically is an historic landmark, as are the Rose Gardens, which are very close to the Berryman Reservoir. So it's an important historical area, and really a cell tower like this does not belong in that location. It would be really an ugly industrial structure in the middle of what is now a beautiful park, wooded park, and playing field. And of course, the Berryman Reservoir itself has a lovely walking path where people can walk their dogs or take a stroll. There are also a number of safety concerns. Fire, of course, being the least of them. You probably know that this area of Berkeley is very much fire prone. The reservoir and the playing field and the park are surrounded by woods that could easily catch on fire, and the cell tower, could also catch on fire. And I don't know if you all have done or did an EIR to assess the potential safety concern of fire. That is something, okay.
Just, you finish your sentence.
Okay, but that is something that is a big concern for us, as is earthquake, and I'm sure that others will address the earthquake issue. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Just a reminder for those of you that have not spoken for us before, that you put it down. This is not on our agenda, so we are not permitted to actually engage in discussion about the topic. So we're not trying to be rude or insincere or unconcerned. It's just that we're really not allowed to talk about issues that have not been agendized for the public. Okay. Next up, Jane Hansen, followed by Susan Nunez Padley, followed by Susan Roth. Go ahead.
Thank you all so much for this opportunity.
Oh, there it goes. It went off for some reason. I couldn't see it on the last speaker. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. My son Theo is 4 years old, and he goes to school in Cordonuches Park at the Forest School. And so that means every day, rain or shine, 2 to 6 year olds gather in this really special, rare jewel of a place that has a creek and redwoods, and they get muddy and they find worms, and they crawl around and climb trees, and it's just a really beautiful place that kids come from all over the East Bay to go to this special school, and there's tuition equity, so it makes this opportunity to experience nature in an urban setting. It's accessible by public transportation. It's made possible for kids who don't have the resources to go to Yosemite, to go to Point Reyes. They come sometimes for a week in the summer to have an immersive woods experience, and it's a really, really special place that I hope you'll all have the opportunity to just visit and see why we're all here fighting for the integrity of this beautiful little jewel, this little pocket of wilderness that's in the city. And to have a big garish tower is just making me sweat right now, just the thought. It keeps me up at night, and I really, really urge you to please rescind the lease. And thank you.
Thank you. Susan Padley?
Thank you, President Young and the board. I'm here to comment on the lease.
I'm sorry, if you could say your name too.
I'm Susan Nunez Padley, and I'm here to comment on the lease agreement that EBMUD signed with Verizon for the reservoir and the possibility of this 50 to 70 foot cell tower in our community. I'm sure you're aware, in the 90s, the mid-90s, the utility went through an extensive EIR process to completely rebuild the reservoir. The goal was earthquake safety, but the utility took this amazing extra step. I think it was required by the EIR, but you really went beyond the call and worked with the community and the city of Berkeley to create this design space at the cost of some $6 million. You hired architects, you reached out to the community, you finalized a design that fit in with all the historic resources in this area, and the community accepted the design. And now everyone uses that space, and everyone has come to love and appreciate it. So I just don't understand how this happened, how the lease could have happened. I mean, either your real estate division didn't know about the history of this area, or if it knew about the history, it chose to ignore it. And I don't know which is worse. So I understand the necessity of leasing out properties. You're trying to take care of all of your customers. But this lease is going to cost our city and our taxpayers a lot of money. If Verizon loses at the city council level, they will go on to court. They can fight it at the superior court level, the appellate court, and eventually to the state Supreme Court. So I'm here to ask if there's anything that can be done to rescind this lease, that avenue be explored. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, those times are not showing up on my screen at all. Okay.
I can see it when the time is up.
Okay, I know it comes up. I just like to kind of keep on top of how much time folks have. Okay, next I have Susan Roth. I'm sorry, I got the
There are
Susan.
too many Susans.
Okay. Susan Roth, and then after Susan is Christine Fasano, and then David Rana. Okay.
So, good afternoon. This is my first time here. Thank you for letting us be here. So I'm going to try not to be repetitive. I got to speak from a personal point of view. I live on Codenices Road, which is directly above the reservoir. We've lived there for 20 years. So I've watched you guys do a great job of renovating the reservoir. When we first moved there, it was not very beautiful, and it is very beautiful. And I watch the park. I'm in the park with my dogs all the time, and I cannot tell you that park is the soul of the neighborhood. As Jane said, summers are camps, and the kids that attend these camps are not just Berkeley Hills people, you know. They're from all over, and some of them don't have any experience in nature. This is their one experience. And it's a wholesome place in this crazy world. It's a place where we can go and be alone if we want, not to mention the sports, the soccer camps. And every afternoon there are sports games. So I cannot fathom why this got to even this point. And I want to ask your help in helping us rescind this measure. It's very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Christine Fasano, David Rana, and Angelina D'Antonis.
Hi, my name is Christine Fasano, and I'm also going to speak from the heart, and I'll try to be brief because I'm going to be reiterating some points. I'm also a mom of a child who's now not so young, 11, and I moved to Berkeley when she was a baby. I was actually doing a tour of the greater Bay Area to find a spot for us, moving from New York City. And true story, it was an afternoon in Cordonices Park that made me choose Berkeley. And we moved from New York, and I have been walking distance from Cordonices ever since. So really, it's a beautiful place. It's a wooded place, as everyone said. It has a waterfall. It is a special, special place. And as other people have said, it's really so well used in the East Bay. It's not just the privileged few who can live walking distance from this park. One of the things I love about it is that when I bring my pretty privileged daughter, we see a diversity of kids there. It's camps and birthday parties. Every single grill in the park is being used. And then, as others have said, you can go back and back and back in this park into what feels like wilderness. There's nothing else like it that I know of. I mean, there are in parts of Oakland, there actually are in the hills, but in Berkeley, there is nothing like it. It is definitely the soul of North Berkeley, and I would argue in a certain way, Berkeley overall. The other quick thing I wanted to say is that you know how people are feeling about PG&E right now in the state of California, and Northern California had no power for several days. I have always had a warm and fuzzy feeling about East Bay Mud. You are the good utility. And, you know, just to reiterate what others have said, I think like somehow this slipped through, and I'm just hoping you can undo it now, so we don't.
Thank you. David Rana, Angelina DeAntonis, Lloyd Morgan.
Thank you. I'm also talking about a request for Verizon's recent release. I know that in this country, health issues regarding wireless radiation are still quite contentious. But it does need to be said that there are a lot of children in this park. People go to school, the kids go to school there, there are camps there, and kids play in the park. I think we should know here that there are a number of countries in the world that have banned or severely restricted wireless in schools, particularly for children, because they've identified that the exposure of children to wireless radiation is has a particular impact on their health. So I'll give you a few. They include Israel, France, Belgium, Italy, Spain, Poland, Hungary, Australia, Russia, right? So while we're still arguing about it here, they have made some decisions there. I'd also like to offer just maybe a little bit of cautionary historical context. Two major technologies came out of the Second World War. One was related to radiation because of the research for making nuclear weapons, and another was related to radar because of research on wireless and how to use it to detect objects. We made some rather serious mistakes regarding radiation. You may not know, but we used to have things like X-ray machines in shoe stores, so people could see the bones in their feet. And children would come along and play on it. They put their hands on it, they put their face on it. Okay, we didn't understand that this was a serious, serious health problem. I think that we are facing some similar catastrophic mistakes with regard to wireless radiation today. So I ask you to reconsider this lease. Thank you.
Thank you. Angela DeAntonis.
Hello, my name is Angelina DeAntonis, and I just moved to 96 Tamalpais Road. It's a kind of dreamy to be up there. It is like I actually moved from the Mission in San Francisco, which was quite dense, also full of cell towers on every corner. And so we moved there to get away from this. And the feeling of being surrounded by old growth trees, wildlife, deer walking through your yard, I can't tell you I've been sleeping so much more deeply, except that I wake up in the middle of the night and the idea that the cell tower could be beaming out over our house brings me much concern. I have a 13-year-old son, and I'm extremely concerned about many of the health aspects of the tower, as the previous speaker just addressed. In addition, the tower's planned to start out as a 50-foot constructed tower that can be then added additional 20 feet. Now, it's not limited to what kind of wireless technology can be put on this tower, to my knowledge. So to power the tower in case that there's a power outage, it's got a diesel generator. This would all be inside of the reservoir. So if you can imagine a fire, as I think we can all imagine a fire coming through the hills, but it's the last thing I want to imagine. So what happens, the electricity is turned off, And to keep the tower running, it would then run on diesel, which is, as you know, combustible fuel, which would also be adding another element of fire danger. It's also located right near a fault, an earthquake fault. And I can easily imagine a 70-foot tower being disrupted by a fault and falling over. And this reservoir has 2 access points. It also is designated to put out fires for it feeds the homes below. And it's our water source in case of a fire. So if access is impeded into the reservoir to access the water, well, it's going to be very hard to get our water to put out our fire. So I greatly hope that you can turn down this granted permit to Verizon. Thank you.
Thank you. Lloyd Morgan, Len Turner, and then Alan Myers. And I appreciate folks taking less than the 3 minutes. It's great. Thank you.
I am the Lloyd Morgan. I'm an electronic engineer and a scientist, and I would like to discuss the hazards to children. Children absorb double the radiation to their brain as an adult, and 10 times more radiation to their bone marrow. I'm going to leave you this document that I've done up, but it shows a series of cancers that have been linked to cell phone use. And these are absolutely linked to cell phone use. You have hearing nerve tumors, that is, the hearing nerve, and if it happens, it has to be cut to remove, and you lose hearing in one ear. And if there's a mistake because there's a facial nerve that wraps around the hearing nerve, you can lose half your face is paralyzed. There's salivary gland tumors. We have a big salivary gland in our cheeks. There's eye cancer. And we're talking about multiple studies in each case. We have breast cancer, male and female. We have skin melanoma. We have leukemia. Don't forget, children absorb 10 times the radiation to their bone marrow, which is a lymphoma, thyroid cancer, and studies with multiple cancers. Now, it's also my understanding, I might be wrong, that the East Bay your board never voted on this, ever. Now, if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. The tower itself can kill vegetation and does regularly. So whether it's leaves on trees, bushes, whatever, and this is absolutely outrageous. And I'm sure this board understands that. And I would hope and pray that you basically cancel this lease agreement, which I believe was done not by your approvals. Thank you.
Thank you. Len, I think it's Len Turner, Alan Myers, and then Jeff Hunt.
Yes, that's correct. It's Len Turner. So my comments are a little different. I am here because I want to say thank you to the board. You guys have helped us out tremendously over the years. And so it's the 35th anniversary of the Contract Equity Program.
Okay.
And so I'm Len Turner with Turner Group Construction and the Construction Resource Center. And over the years, you guys have helped us out. And something here recently, we started a Construction Resource Center. And this center teaches local tradespeople and contractors how to become successful contractors. When we started, we had nowhere to go, no one to ask. And when you start to grow, where do you get your business agreements from? Where do you get your buy-sell agreements from? Where do you get your joint venture agreements from? And then when you get them, when you pay thousands of dollars for them, what do you put in them? So we started a resource center, and with the support of East Bay MUD, Beverly Johnson heading it up for you guys, and we really appreciate it. And we currently, or not currently, but maybe 3 months ago, we actually hosted, or you guys actually hosted a graduation for us, sponsored also by Nancy Skinner. And so we do quite a bit in the community, and it's all because of the support that we get from East Bay MUD. We have helped Richmond Community Foundation with about 20 blighted homes. We've helped build those with the community. We helped Richmond Build, place their tradespeople into union positions. We have helped Art Shanks, Bishop Bob place their tradespeople. We have helped grow and at least 20 companies get their contractor's license. And so we just want to say thank you for that. So we appreciate it, and I hope everything ends up okay for you guys.
Thank you. We actually, we do have a number of other speakers on that. I didn't realize you didn't have an agenda item, or the topic wasn't specific enough for me to recognize it. That's actually coming up under agenda item 8 once we get to our
Okay, so you want me to come back up?
No, we'll move your comments over into that section. You can, shout and clap and all that. Okay, thank you. Alan Myers, Jeff Hunt, Joanne Driscoll.
My name is Alan Myers, and I'm a neighbor of East Bay MUD. I live at 1322 Euclid Avenue, which is right across the street from the reservoir and right next to the rate control station. And I want to say that, as others have said, East Bay MUD has been an excellent neighbor. We've had dealt with East Bay MUD employees many times, had to do a tree trimming and stuff like that. You guys have really been great. And the reservoir itself, the reconstruction of it, the tank, everything, the aesthetics have been very nice. No complaints there. But as far as the cell phone tower and the process, it seems like there's been a severe lapse in terms of following a good process and notifying neighbors, working with us, taking into consideration our concerns. My concerns are, there's health concerns. I live less than probably 150 feet from the proposed tower. Who knows? But the other thing is the park, as everybody has said, it's an incredible resource within Berkeley. We see people across the street every morning that would be right under that tower doing Tai Chi or meditating or whatever it is they're doing. They're taking walks. And the parks and the Rose Garden are just awesome. So please consider this in any kind of future decision to hopefully rescind this lease agreement. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Jeff Hunt.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey Hunt, and I live, I'm probably the fourth closest neighbor to where the proposed cell tower will come. I have a couple points I'd like to make. One is the regional aspect of the park. I was involved in and designed the Rose Garden sign, and part of that, getting that approved was through the Landmarks Commission. And we established the context of the setting as being against the backdrop of the Golden Gate Bridge, Mount Tamalpais, and the Pacific Ocean. And when you stand at the Rose Garden entrance and turn around, you will be able to see the cell tower behind you. It's right there at this entrance. So it's a dramatic impact on this, on the park that I consider, even though I live next door, is a regional draw, the citywide and regional draw. The other project I was involved in was multiple projects in the park. Is the reservoir itself. Is my input that helped with the trellis that surrounds the park. I wanted a connection between the trellis and the Rose Garden, trying to unify the look of the area that I live in. My background, I used to be a professor of design at UC Davis. I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I can't help but getting involved in some of the visual aspects of these things. And having a cell tower basically loom over the park it's just incomprehensible to me. The second point is goes to that directly is East Bay Mud put out a map that shows the visual sight lines where you can see the tower. And it includes the reservoir, it includes the park. And some of you may have seen this map because I think it went to the comments to the ZAP board. The East Bay Mud property is not accessible to the public, so that doesn't count. So if you, in my opinion, to who can see the cell tower. So the houses above will be able to see the cell tower, and if you draw a circle with the cell tower at the center, going to home plate in the playground, and draw a circle, the cell tower is more in the park visually than it is in anywhere else. So that, I don't know the exact numbers, but I've seen the number of 100,000 people visit the park. So those are the only people that will see the cell tower. And it's beautiful natural setting. It's just incomprehensible that we're talking about a beautiful park and installing a cell tower. I don't think it's a good precedent for any city to follow. My third and final point is, in my backyard is I'll have to address this in a letter. It's,
Please do.
pardon?
Please feel free to do so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Jeff Hunt, Joanne Driscoll, Oliver Raisner.
Hi everybody, I'm Joanne Driscoll. I live at 1400 Euclid Avenue, kind of just down the hill from the Rose Walk Maybeck staircase, which is of historical significance. I'm one of the volunteer signature gatherers, and we are gathering tremendous momentum. Every time myself and my sidekick Regina would canvass in the park with our signature asking about people's feelings and whether they'd be willing to sign a petition in opposition to the park, I would say probably we had 95% of the public we surveyed say, no way. And most of them wanted to speak about the health benefits, and they also were worried about their children. They were worried about their children. And we can talk about the historic nature of the park. I've lived in this neighborhood since 1992, and it has only gotten better. We've had the city of city of Berkeley spend tremendous amount of money to revamp the Rose Garden. Equally, the park itself, Cornelius Park, has been, we were stunned as signature gatherers to find out how many people were coming from outside of Berkeley. Yes, we have the UC Berkeley students, drinking beer and having a nice time on the weekend, but we also have a lot of families from Oakland, El Cerrito, Albany, all the way up and down, who come to Cordonices Park. And we have the backing and the addresses, and they're right there saying, this is a bad idea. We heard, can't this big utility find another location? Why do they have to do it right here in this park? So overwhelmingly, I think the public support is against this. The point is, please find another location, not this wonderful park. The Zoning Advisory Board of the City of Berkeley has turned this down unanimously. Now, come on, how many of us know Berkeley as a place where unanimous decisions go down? Right? This is unanimous. The public is against this idea. I was also here, like other speakers, when you changed the gigantic reservoir to the small, concise, safer reservoir. And I had engineers at my house concerned about how things are going and whether or not things were, okay during construction period of time. Your outreach to the community was exemplary. You have great PR right now, and I really believe you will squander it. That's right. Because of the public opinion against this.
Just PR goodbye.
We've already done, 3 or 4 weekends of signatures. I personally have gathered about 150 myself. And so I would urge you to reconsider this and to deny Verizon this decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Jeff Hunt not here? Oh, I'm sorry. I lost track of my, you're Jeff, okay.
Yes.
All right, lost track of my cards here. Oliver. and then Don Hawk, and then Christian Reisner.
Hello, everyone. I recently moved to Tamalpais Road above this park. And it was a mature decision at a point in my life where prices are the same in the flats as they are on the hills at this moment in time in Berkeley. We looked for years. We decided to buy a duplex in that neighborhood. This park was one of the major reasons why it spoke to us, even though it's not near BART and doesn't have all the conveniences that everybody wants, walking school and all that stuff. It's disrupting our sleep knowing that this project is happening. I've been a ratepayer in a previous address, and I do feel betrayed as a ratepayer. I feel betrayed. Out of the blue, there's this lease with a large corporation that doesn't have the interests of this immediate community. They want to get towers to build the future, whatever it looks like down the road. We don't even know what that's going to be. And I think someone just played into their hands and said, fine, we'll make a little side money. And in the future, obviously, if you think about it, they're just going to tell you what they're going to do next. We want surveillance cameras. We need surveillance cameras. We're going to have our little minivans come through there. We're going to augment. We're going to do that. You will not even have a chance to have any say in this as the land. It calls to the PR. It was expressed to me that this is the community process. Well, 3 minutes here, feeling like a very defensive, person, when something's already a done deal and you're looking at a future of highly paid specialized lawyers shuttling back from Washington to local communities, with gag orders and saying, you can't allow this, you can't talk about that. It doesn't matter how far away you live. It doesn't matter. This is, suddenly I have to take a class in how to defend my little family with my neighbors. The neighbor on the right, they have 2 kids. Her grandfather, there's a plaque to him in this park. He was one of the designers of the modern look. I don't know the whole history. She can write you a letter. She's appalled. On the other side, 2 young architects, 2 kids. Are they millennials? I don't know. They're younger than me. They're appalled. Okay, we have a renter downstairs. This isn't just like, some old fogies who don't get technology and progress. Everybody's interested in progress. This is not progress. This is getting industrial equipment in a sacred place, ASAP, so whatever comes down the pipe, we have the contracts. That's the corporate mentality, and you're just giving it away. I feel that East Bay Mud is giving away a resource. I don't care how much money you're going to make, as the landowner. You're giving away a resource, and you will never get it back. This is the one chance you have to rescind this. If you don't rescind this, they're appealing, and it's going to go to the lawyers.
Thank you. Don Hawk, followed by Christian Reisner.
Hi, I'm Dawn Hawk, and I'll just talk about a couple little things that haven't been addressed yet. And I am, of course, asking East Bay Mud to rescind the lease to Verizon. This issue came up this summer before the Zoning Adjustment Board when they did turn it down with a unanimous vote. After about 40 neighbors came and spoke on the topic. One of the only ways that they really have to make that turn down is based on need. Did Verizon show the need for this cell tower? And they decided that Verizon had not shown the need. Verizon's own promotional materials, you can put all of our addresses into their website, and Verizon tells us that we have excellent coverage at our homes. I'm a Verizon customer. I don't want that cell tower. I don't have excellent coverage, but I don't want that cell tower. Also, the thing that is clear is that once Verizon goes in with that cell tower, T-Mobile, Sprint, AT&T can also put their devices on that tower. They may even be able to extend that tower. And I don't know whether they all need their own generators to power their devices, but this is already a really high capacity of fuel for this generator, which they say they have to test. I can't remember if it's weekly at a certain time. in this cavernous steel basin, but also they'll need to test it or run it a lot more during PG&E's shutdowns. So those are the main concerns I have, and I hope you'll rescind this lease. Thanks.
Thank you. Christian Reisman.
Good afternoon, glad to be here. Of course, I have little to really add to what's been said. It's so important. But the problem here, I'm quite sympathetic to the poor in this way. This looks like it's a mistake. They happen sometimes. And when they happen, you've got big organizations. A lot of things can happen. All right, here is one. Who knows? I'm not going to speculate, and you all are in a really good position to figure it out and to make a remedy. I do know there is not a contract in this world that cannot be rescinded for various good reasons, and that is not an acceptable excuse. EBMUD, it is true, as has been remarked here, has a pretty good reputation. I myself hold it in high regard. We'll have our problems. But this is not that. We're talking about a mistake here. Let's fix it. It just cannot be denied that this is not the right place for this cell tower. If there is a right place anywhere, we don't know these. We don't know the background and facts and science of all this stuff that's being loaded on us. But leaving that to one side, this is not the place, even if it were to be built. And I think that the board should, probably, I hope you're convinced of that. I do own property in the area, live there, it's been wonderful. By the way, this is not going to help property values for whom, as a consideration, not the main big deal. Of course, the main big deal is your life, your health, people in and around the park. And it's something that cannot be recovered. Once it's gone, very hard to do that. The zoning board was not dumb. They looked at it carefully, considered a lot, brought up many points, and it was unanimous. I was surprised and pleased and excited that happened. I was there on that night. It was, a long one. I think this board is in a better position to actually just deal with this error. It would be a wonderful thing, and I think a principled thing, and would, give in fact, even more respect than it already has now. But the alternative is rather grim, and it would be really a hardship for us. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Antoinette Stein, I have no name. It's somebody who lives at 1370 Euclid, and Paul Teichholz.
Thank you very much. Antoinette Stein, I live in Berkeley, California. My family and my children use the park and have. My daughter is now in high school. I am very concerned about this. I have a PhD in environmental engineering and have practiced environmental engineering throughout my career here in California. CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act, requires EBMUD, your agency, to conduct subsequent review when a project is modified after the adoption of an EIR. This has been tested in the courts. Friends of College of San Mateo Gardens versus San Mateo Community College District brought it all the way to the Supreme Court. And it is necessary that when you approve a project, and through either an EIR or a NEGDEC, EIR in this case, and then later modify it, you're required by CEQA, by law, by the California Code of Regulations, Title 14, 15162, to conduct subsequent review and to hold public meetings and to review the impacts of the major changes that are being made. In this case, in the case of the reservoir, which is water, which we all need and use and is a utility for our communities, land, air, water, these are all infused in our environment and understandable. And the EIR made a project that fit into the community under the impacts of the EIR. But in this case, these major changes to this project, bringing in a communications tower into a park setting, it doesn't fit. And you've heard architecturally, and you didn't do any review, and you didn't hold any public meetings. Please, under CEQA and under our California legal system, rescind on the fact that you didn't follow the rules, and begin again if you really want this project, and do it right. Do it according to our laws. Thank you very much, environmental PhD person I am, and Antoinette Stein.
Thank you. I have no name, but the person who lives at 1370 Euclid Avenue.
You had to leave.
Okay.
Steve Tracy.
Okay. Paul Titles. And that's the last card I have on this topic. So if there's anybody else that wanted to speak who didn't fill out a card.
I filled out a card. Phoebe Sorgan.
Oh, gosh, you know what? Yes. You'll go after Paul, if that's okay. I just trying to keep track. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Paul Teichholz. I live on Bayview Place, just down the street from Euclid. And we've lived there since 1967, so we know this area pretty well. I was the person who suggested to East Bay Mud, when they're doing a review of the reservoir tanks, that they consider a one-tank solution rather than a two-tank solution, which would reduce the height of the tank and allow them to get all the water into one tank, which saves a lot of money. And they adopted that, which shows that they're very sensitive to the neighborhood and, of course, to the cost of the reservoir requirements. Now, on this issue, I'd like to bring up a different point, and that is that in the near future, we're going to be converting from 3 and 4G technology to 5G. That's coming next year. There are some places in the country where it's already being tested. 5G technology is significantly different in that it doesn't need big towers. It operates with small antennas that you can put on light bulbs, the sides of buildings, and it needs more antennas basically because it's a higher frequency, it doesn't have the range. But my point is that this tower in a few years is going to be obsolete. Nobody's going to want to use 3 and 4G. We're going to be using 5G technology because it's faster latency. It's just superior. It also, if it has health effects, they should be less because it's a higher frequency bandwidth. I'm not an expert in health issues, and I'm not going to stand up here and say it's good or bad in that regard. But the tower configuration is completely different. And so I want you to consider the fact that here we have a very unpopular project that you've been hearing about, and it's going to be obsolete. It's not going to be needed. It's not what Berkeley is going to want, and you're going to be tied to it. So all I'm saying is consider that when you're thinking about this project.
Thank you. Phoebe. Sorry for leaving you out of the staff. Was that the only person that put a card in that? got missed? Okay, good. That's not too bad.
I'm Phoebe Sorgan, hello. So I too am going to ask you to put it on your agenda as soon as possible and cancel the lease with Verizon for Berryman Reservoir. I attended that ZAB hearing that long night, and I urge you to watch the video, maybe not of all the public testimony if you don't have time, although that was powerful, but of the ZAB members' discussion themselves. There were multiple sleights of hand by Verizon and errors in the Verizon application, which were pointed out that night.
Lies.
And the ZAB had very strong reasons for rejecting the permit. I particularly agree with ZAB member Patrick Sheehan. He was indignant, as I am, that an East Bay MUD staff member with zero public notice or public input gave away our public property for purposes of a private corporation, Verizon, profiting. You know that Verizon has no other motive than profit, and without regard to the public interest. I believe that coverage is already adequate. I have no problem getting adequate cell phone coverage in that area. I use Cricket. I used to be a Verizon customer before I wised up, and even then I had no problem with coverage when I used Verizon. Accessibility. EMF, that's electromagnetic frequency, sensitivity, EMF sensitivity, is recognized as a disability under the ADA. That tower will block ADA access. So that's an important point. There are thousands, or I should say over 1,000, peer-reviewed studies showing various harms from EMF radiation, which the tower will emit. And you can access those studies at the website of the Environmental Health Trust, EHT.org. Just click science at the top. This site is internationally appreciated, and my sons and I have so many happy memories in that park over the past decade, and in the ballpark, which would be right under the tower. But it would be heartbreaking, but we will not set foot anywhere near there anymore if there is a tower like that constructed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming and expressing your concerns about this project. Allison, I don't know if you have a short bit of information that you can share. Again, we're not in a position to take any action or really discuss the topic today, but our general manager can make a comment, and perhaps Director Katz, who represents the area.
Yes, I'd like to thank members of the public for sharing your concerns with the board. I think it's really helpful for the board to understand the perspectives that you have in the community and the reasons why you're concerned about these issues. I would like for the board to consider some of these issues at a future meeting of the board, whether that, in the view of the general manager, needs to be open session or closed session. That would look at the requests that you're making, as well as the underlying policy that the board adopted in 1996. And most of this board was not a member of the board of directors when that policy was adopted in 1996. So these are important issues for what's a partially changed board to be considering. And there are, that's about as much as I think I can say in a brief response. Thank you.
I would also express appreciation for your coming, and then we will, as staff, put together a written summary. I'm not sure that all of the board members are fully versed on this subject, but they soon will be. And as Director Katz had recommended, we'll find an opportunity, not clear exactly which venue, but we'll find an opportunity to inform the board and allow for some discussion.
current status of the project is that it was rejected by the Board of Zoning Adjustments in Berkeley. Is that correct?
Right, so the district has a practice of, when approached, to see if it's possible to utilize our property for cell towers or other utility purposes, of exploring whether there is whether it conflicts with our operations at that location, and to treat every property and neighborhood fairly. Once that decision is made, then we allow for a lease. But the lease is structured to very clearly say, in order to address the concerns about public process, that before anything can be placed on the East Bay MUD's property, all the necessary permits and approvals have to be obtained from the community governing body. In this case, it'd be the city of Berkeley and their whole process. And so we apply that across the board at all of our facilities. And I have to say that in all my years, this is the first time that we are finding that the expectation was that East Bay MUD would have denied initially, and so we're going to have a conversation about it. Good.
Okay, thank you all for coming. You're of course welcome to stay and learn more about what we do here. But I understand that our meetings happen in the middle of the day. You might have other things to do. So thank you very much. We will move on to our consent calendar. And I believe I'm on poll item 8 regarding the contract equity program. Are there any other items that any board members wish to remove for separate consideration? Okay, moved items 1 through 7 and item 9, canceling our Christmas Eve meetings. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard. Okay, item 8, our contract equity program is, we have a number of speakers, and I think we want to hear those. Perhaps, do we have a presentation on the item?
Well, maybe we dealt with item 8 in our committee this morning and approved it on the 3-0 vote.
Right, I have 6 or 7 speakers on the item, if they're still all here. Excluding or including Mr. Turner.
Did not, and I'm not sure if Secretary Risha can access it, but we did not queue it up for a presentation. But very briefly, as you can see in the material, we provided our contract equity program officer, Beverly, provided a recap of the 35 years of the program here at the district and its evolution. And then in an effort for continuous improvement, we have identified 2 actions for the board's consideration. One is to expand the definition of a small business to include lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender business enterprises to be certified as small businesses. And the second is to adopt a local hire component to encourage, monitor, and report on the participation of local residents in all construction projects that are over $500,000, with good faith goals of 50% of local residents, which is as we define the counties that we serve, and have business interests in. And then of that, 30%, which is an absolute, not 30% of 50%, but 30% of 100%, from the county or counties directly impacted by a project. So if you have a construction project in a county, we're looking to get 30% of the people that work on that project to be from that county to try to get the benefit back into the community.
I think that this is really actually an opportunity that a bunch of people want to use to recognize the work of one particular staff person in her team. So I'm going to go ahead and call the speakers, and then we will take a motion and action. So Rosemary Wetzel, Joe gonna mess it up, what? Padilla, sorry. And then Pamela Eisen.
Sorry.
Beverly, did you want to say something?
I'm sorry. Only in the interest of time, if it's possible, we can call Congresswoman Barbara Lee's aide up to do her certificate of recognition prior to. We kind of didn't expect all the entertainment earlier, so just if we could. Thank you.
So Marvelous.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Mad Velez. I am a congressional aide for Congresswoman Barbara Lee, and very happy to be here to present this special congressional recognition to EBMUD. So I'll just go ahead and read what the certificate says. The Honorable Barbara Lee, 13th Congressional District of California. Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition presented to East Bay Municipal Utility District. In recognition of your contract equity program's 35 years of service to increase the level of minority business participation in contracting in the greater East Bay community. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want somebody? Oh, sure. Yeah. We usually have these things on first.
Oh.
Beverly, do you want to come up and join me?
Yeah, round of applause.
You're the one who's driven this for all of this time. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Okay. Rosemary Wetzel.
Good afternoon. My name is Rosemary Wetzel. I am the Director of Certification and Organizational Development for the Western Regional Minority Supplier Development Council. Cecil Plummer, our president, asked me to come today and read a statement on his behalf. On behalf of the Western Regional Minority Supplier Development Council, staff, and the board of directors, it is my pleasure to share with you the influence, support from, and impact of the East Bay Municipal Utilities District, Beverly Johnson, and the Contract Equity Program. WRMSDC has been serving the Bay Area minority entrepreneurs community since 1977, and East Bay MUD has been there serving alongside and supporting the council for most of those years. EBMUD team members have served the WRMSDC in a variety of positions over the years, providing critical services and leadership in roles such as the certification committee and the board of directors. Beverly and others have been and still are regular participants at our networking, educational, and matchmaking events, providing crucial information and guidance to local and minority entrepreneurs. In addition to the countless hours of service and participation, when possible, the CE team has supported our efforts financially or with in-kind venue space, allowing the council to operate in the areas where we are needed most. It is my pleasure to congratulate the East Bay Municipal Utilities District team for 35 years of excellence in supply chain support and inclusion and community impact. We treasure the CE program and the team that runs it, without whom we would not be able to do our work and we would not have accomplished all that we have. Thank you, and we hope to continue partnering with the East Bay MUD team and the Contract Equity Program now and in the future. With gratitude and admiration, Cecil Plummer, the President and CEO of the Western Regional Minority Supplier Development Council.
Thank you.
Hello, Joe.
Hello there. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me congratulate East Bay MUD. 35 years of providing a very important program in our community. Not so much the Oakland community, but surrounding community. That's 35 years, that's a long time, almost as old as I am. The program is very important in our community. I am president of the Oakland Latino Chamber of Commerce. It's the newest chamber here in Oakland. We have 3 other ethnic chambers here, the Chinatown Chamber, Vietnamese, and the African American Chamber. We work closely with the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and to promote business for small business owners here in the Oakland area. And I'd like to encourage you to continue with this program and please expand this program. There's other opportunities for other folks out there that need to be part of this program and opportunity to work with East Bay MUD. As you know, there's tons of businesses out there that don't even know they can do business with East Bay MUD. But East Bay MUD has been one of the companies or utilities here in Oakland that's worked with many of our businesses in the community. So I'll encourage you to please continue. And I'd like to thank Beverly. Beverly's been fantastic. She's always out there promoting East Bay MUD in the small business community. And also, when I go to a restaurant, I get this great water. It's great tasting water. So you guys keep up the good work. Congratulations, 35 years.
Thank you. Pamela Isom.
Hi, my name is Pamela Isom, and I'm the founder, president, and CEO of In Case of Emergency, or ICE Safety Solutions, and we make sure employees don't die at work.
Yep.
And I mean, that's like really true. We've been a supplier to East Bay MUD for about 16 of our 20 years in business, providing everything from CPR training, first aid, and disaster preparedness. And we've been doing this for over 20 years for companies across the U.S. And I have to say that my gratitude towards the Contract Equity Program, that program has saved my life in terms of what it has done for myself, my employees, and my children. So let me give you the end game. The end game is I have been told no my entire life. I'm half Hispanic and half black, and I was put up for adoption. My twin brother and I were adopted by a Japanese woman and African-American father. And so you can imagine being told no is just like your skin's too light, your skin's too dark, your hair is too this, your hair is too that. And what happens is you grow up being told no your entire life. Well, then you come into business, and all of a sudden the no's start again, because businesses and big companies will look at you as can a woman do a safety job, right? You're too small, you can't scale, you don't have enough experience. East Bay MUD was my first corporate contract because you didn't tell me no, you gave me an NO, which is a new opportunity. And NO, that new opportunity, has now scaled my company. In 2012, we were the Regional Supplier of the Year for the Western region. In 2017, we are the National Minority Supplier of the Year, which is only awarded to 4 out of the top 10,000 companies in the US. Because of you, we support major public utilities, including PG&E, private companies like San Jose Water, and even other publics like Alameda County Water. We support companies like Toyota Motors USA, Ernst & Young, Allstate, and the Golden State Warriors, and even the Chase Arena. But what you've done the most is you've created generational wealth, not just in my children, but also in the children of my employees. I want you to be proud of that. And it's hard to not get emotional about the success, but I just want you to know that what you've done is you've saved lives and you've given hope, not just to my company, but hope meaning happiness, opportunity, profitability, and excellence to this little girl from Oakland. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said.
See despair. I feel like you just made my day, my week. Thank you.
Maria Elena Mendoza.
And that's me.
If I read it right, sorry.
My name is Marianela Mendoza, and I'm your new biggest fan over here. And I don't even know what I'm going to do to follow that up. But what I will say is that I'm coming here in my capacity as the Executive Director of the Oakland Latino Chamber of Commerce. You've already heard from my board president, Joe Partida, who I'm sure you all know very, very well. And I can't really add to anything that's already been said, but I do want to say this. We are a new chamber, and Beverly Johnson was our biggest champion since we started. She was at our first board meeting. She's still on our board, and she was the one that cut us our first check so we can still be viable. So I just want to say that we are working for you to make sure that our members and the people we represent are ready to contract with you. We want to make sure that we develop a business base that actually serves the needs of this board, this organization, this utility company, so that we can better serve our greater population. And that is not lost on me nor anybody else that serves with me and works along with me. So to you, I say thank you very, very much to all of that. To Beverly. Girl, you got my heart. And I just gotta say, and as another girl from Oakland, I grew up on 92nd. I didn't even know what bad water was until I left the state. And then I feel very, very sorry for people. And then I look at situations that what's happening in Detroit and in Flint, and it breaks my heart that they don't have what we have here. So I just also want to show you that you are also an example to people all over this state, all over this country, to now want to go up to 30% representation of minority women-owned businesses, that you're now recognizing LGBTQ businesses, and that it shouldn't be out of the ordinary. I say thank you, congratulations, and here's looking for another 35 years.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, do I have a motion to adopt the item? And a second, any comments from the board?
If I can, before, again, we heard it in the committee today, and poor Bev, her throat is giving her something, so I don't think we need to ever come up and talk per se, but so much of this effort does fall on her shoulders, what she's done over the years. Thank you very much, Bev.
Director Patterson?
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate, I had the privilege of following Ken Simmons. Initially, when many of the equity program issues came before EBMUD board, he was the bearer of making sure this worked. And so in replacing him, I took on that mantle. And I'm just happy to say and remember Artis Dawson and Beverly and how we all started. And it's really just an honor and a pleasure to have been part of that movement over those years. And this has done so much for our communities that need the support and help of an agency like EBMUD. It gave many of them their start, and you've heard where they went to from there. So, good news, and thank you very much, especially Beverly. All right.
Director McIntosh.
Yeah, Beverly knows that I just appreciate her so much. I didn't know you've been here since, did you say 1987 this morning? That's incredible, but if not for Beverly, that program would not be what it is today. And you've been out in the community, you've been a warrior for the district in this effort, and you're just much appreciated, Beverly, and I just thank you for everything you've done for this program.
Director Mallon and then Director Katz.
So one of the things that maybe you all don't know is that Beverly is also receptive to getting business cards dropped off with her. And I can't count over the years the number of times I've said, I don't know if this one's in your data bank. And, you know, she does an amazing job of reaching all of our communities. I've known Joe for a very long time, and he's sung your praises more than just right here. So you're an awesome person, and I'm proud to be associated with you.
Director Katz?
Thank you. I also want to thank Beverly for such tremendous work over the many years that you've been spearheading a program that has been impacted by challenges that are external to things that we would like to do to make this program as successful that it can be. But we've really done so much even with all those challenges and constraints. So I think by advancing a model for being proactive and hearing about these success stories, it really makes me appreciate the work that we're investing in this program, and I encourage continuing to do more. I also want to express appreciation for expanding the inclusion of LGBT enterprises in the contract equity program, and would like to encourage, right now, to my understanding, we don't have an active rainbow chamber that really represents and advocates for LGBT enterprises in the East Bay. But if one ever were to emerge, to engage with them, because I think that we want to see such a rainbow chamber being also a rainbow in all ethnicities that are represented in the diversity of chambers that we have participating. So I look forward to the effort that we're doing, also advancing the best practices of reflecting all the diversity of contract equity. Thanks.
I'll just say that if one more opportunity to get out my old saw, that I think our employees at East Bay MUD make us look good as board members. I feel like our job is to support the employees in the good work that you do, and very happy, and it's very easy to support everything you do, Beverly.
Okay, my privilege of the director to say just one thing, which is I think, we come here, many people think that what we do is keep the water running 24/7, but as I think a couple of our speakers have very clearly stated, that the impact we have on our community extends well beyond that. Thank you for your efforts and your team's efforts in making that happen.
And I want to thank each of you, because pretty much, of course, I wouldn't be here without all of you. So thank you, and thank you for your support and letting me go out to advocate on behalf of organizations. And unfortunately, Pam is just is so good and eloquent at explaining, and was a good example of what the whole challenge and what our whole goal has been about. In terms of Director Katz, the board, the district this year, there is a Bay Area Chamber, the Golden Gate Business Alliance. It's located in San Francisco, but it does serve the Bay Area, and it is the Rainbow Chamber in the area, and the district did become a member, approved that membership this year, so we will be more involved, and they have participated in some of our outreach events before, but now we are going to be an official member, and we'll be doing more in that behalf. So stay tuned, you will be seeing us more visible with the Golden Gate Business Association.
Great. Okay, we had a motion and a second, and plenty of folks chipping in. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? None. There we go, unanimous. Thank you. We have our general manager's report.
And so you have some materials at your places, including the most recent Speakers Bureau, and then the monthly report in your packet. And if you have any questions, I can work to answer.
Just a quick question, Alex. Thank you. It's a great report. About how much during the PSPS, the second, third event, did it cost us? In terms of labor and materials and
so
everything else?
I could provide you in aggregate, its costs about $700,000 excluding fuel, which we were still tallying last I spoke.
But the first time was 700, I thought it was 700,000 the first event.
No.
We don't have a summary for the second event yet, so it was 700 for the first event plus the rental generator. We're still tallying the second.
And
There's second and third. There are three events total.
The third one got canceled, so it didn't actually affect us, even though we expected it to happen.
Did we expend resources in order to be ready for it?
Yeah, so there were resources prepared.
Well, we should count them.
And we did track that time too.
But actually, Clifford, I thought the second one happened, and then everything went back, or most people got back online, and then they had a third event. That happened.
Transitioned to the Wednesday event.
There was a third event that had East Bay MUD facilities on it, but then he canceled it. So it didn't affect any of our facilities. but we did have to prepare. So we actually created 3 different job numbers, one to track the first, the second, and the third, and we're tallying the second and third.
And then I just, to add on to that, there is a, I'm not sure what the, I think it's ARCA, which I'm not sure what that stands for. Something related to climate reliability and resilience, has a survey that I asked Alex and Clifford to make sure we participate in. It's, whose goal is to run up, figure out the cost to agencies associated with the power shutoffs. Make sure we're included in that.
So, excuse me for having the numbers incorrect. We will be providing a presentation, and President Young's request will provide it to the whole board on December 10th at that board meeting, first board meeting in December, so we can have it as the latest numbers as a part of it.
One of the things I would be interested in, it's one thing to talk about fuel costs, but when we had that 3-day process, that meant a lot of people were working overtime. And that needs to be part of the tally. I don't know if the first incident had any overtime. Was it? So, I think people who hear fuel costs and that we work 3 days or 1 day, they also don't understand people cost. And that's one of the things that I try to bring forward every time I get out there is, look, we didn't do this lightly. We did this with hard work. So if I could see that in whatever numbers you generate, that would help me.
I think we also asked if we can to sort of try to calculate opportunity costs, work that was not done.
Good point.
And the last segment cost, and again, thank you very much for shutting down the recreation areas. Is that a concern?
Yeah.
What was the lost revenue for those 2 recreation areas that were shut down during the time period?
And if we think of anything else, we'll let you know.
We haven't asked for too much.
Not a batteries they bought.
Yes, Director Patterson.
In the words of the great Doug Lenny, staff, you made us look good. And I always say that at the end. It is your accomplishment, your devotion to duty, and you making it happen that makes this agency what it is. So thank you, and thank you for the operations that went out. Even though we didn't use them, we were prepared. And the bottom line is what I hear from people as I go through the community. We had a great emergency, but East Bay Mud was all there the whole time, never failed. I got my nice hot shower in the morning, even if I didn't have electricity. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Anything
That's all I
else?
have.
Okay.
Unless you have more questions.
If there are no other questions, move on to reports and director comments. The October 22nd Sustainability and Energy Committee, as well as the Finance and Administration Committee minutes, were included in board packets. We now get short reports from the Planning and Legislation, Human Resources Committees, meetings which happened this morning.
So this morning, the Planning Committee met. We received reports on the wastewater pretreatment and pollution prevention programs, Central Reservoir Replacement Project, and the Water Smart Sophomore Vendor Service Update.
Okay, and Human Leg HR?
We had one item and we voted on, that was item number 8, to discuss contract equity program.
Which we've just covered. Okay.
Well, let me report out to we did vote to recommend the Water Smart Software Vendor Service Update, or the program, the contract that's coming up.
Okay, great. And then, are there any board comments?
Yeah, I would like, I would like us to look at a possible policy on, I'm distressed to see that GM, Toyota, Fiat Chrysler, and 10 smaller auto companies decided to adopt the Trump standard for air quality emissions, whereas Ford, Volkswagen, and others are adopting the California standards or staying with it. Now, I know that eventually they may come together, but I would hope that we can look at a policy that would actually preclude the purchasing or leasing of any of those vehicles from those companies that have decided that the California standards for air quality and emissions are not acceptable and they're going with the federal government standards.
And perhaps I could start with an inventory of what we look like in that regard right now with our current fleet.
I just have one other thing. Somebody doesn't want them to know that it's their birthday who's sitting up here.
I was holding off, but
It was a much longer meeting than I had anticipated for my birthday.
well, we'll still try to get you out before 3. How's that? Director Mellon?
At your spots, you have my summary of my attendance at the International Foundation of Employees Benefit Plans conference that I went to in San Diego. I also have, if you are wanting to get your insomnia cured, materials that I brought back. Thank you.
Okay. That we are ready to adjourn, and in recognition of Veterans Day, which was observed on November 11th, yesterday, we'd like to recognize and honor our employees and board members who have served in the U.S. military. Today we are closing our meeting with deep gratitude for their service and to personally thank all the district employees for their military service. Their names will now appear on the screen behind us.
Again, really appreciate all the veterans who work here, but we also probably have a number of those who are in the reserves that are currently employed and appreciate all their efforts.
records as well.
They included in this list?
They're on the list.
They're in the list.
Okay, so, I mean, they're still active.
Yes. And we will reconvene on, here at 1:15, or for our next regular meeting, 1:15 on Tuesday, November 26th. And that evening, I'll actually be on a panel at the Commonwealth Club, if anybody's interested.